Guys, in this video I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to draft this stylish Queen Anne neckline asymmetric hemline conical corset. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So to start, here is my pattern paper and here is my shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and then I marked 7 inches for my blouse length. To start my measurement, I'm going to place my tape and I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, and I'll come down by 1 inch. I added half because this dress has a sleeve. I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches at this pattern and I'll connect it all the way to the 3 inches neckline. Next is to find your chest line. To find your chest line is your bust round circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I have 7 inches. I'll place my tape and I'll mark a straight line at that point. So after marking at this point, the next step is to place my tape and mark back my shoulder divided by 2 plus half. I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect this all the way to the upper part of my shoulder. The next step is to mark your armhole curve, and to do that is to place your tape and divide what you have here into 2 equal parts. I'll go ahead to come out by ½ inch on that point. The next step is to mark your bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I'll go ahead to mark. Then connect from the midpoint all the way to the shoulder. From the midpoint of my armhole, I'm going to connect to my round bust circumference divided by 4. After marking this, I'll go ahead to outline my armhole. And after outlining my armhole, I'll go ahead to mark my dart. So to mark your dart, you need your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, which I marked all the way to the lower part of this pattern, right? Now I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect from the bust area to the under bust, to the waist, and down to the blouse length of this pattern. Remember, the blouse length, I added extra 7 inches after the waistline. Now on the under bust, I'll be using 1 inch for my under bust tightening at both sides. So if your bust is a little fuller, you should go ahead to use 1.5. So I'll take that 1 inch all the way down. And if your bust is also fuller or you're on the bigger side, you should use this 1.5 inches and take it all the way to the lower part of your pattern. So I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect this on the other side of my pattern also. So after I'm done connecting at this point, I'll place my curve drew, connect from the under bust to the bust, and also repeat this at the other side of my pattern. So I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline this, starting from the bust to the under bust and all the way to the blouse length. And I'm also going to repeat this at the other side of my pattern. The next step now is to decide where you want the neckline of this corset pattern to start. So I'm going above 2 inches from the chest line, or you can place your tape and measure from the neckline to decide. Now after marking this, you want to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2 again and connect. Now go ahead to mark 1 inch on both sides if your bust is on the smaller sides. If your bust is on the fuller side, you can go in by 1.25 to 1.5. So connect this all the way to the bust point, and after marking this, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline to make it more visible for you to see. The next step I'm going to take from here is to insert my body measurement. At this point, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now pick this that I have here, the over bust, replace and add my sewing allowance. My under bust is 28 inches divided by 4. I'll mark. Then measure these 2 inches that intake I have, replace, and just add ½ inch for the sewing allowance. Here I'm going to mark the waist circumference, which is the same thing as my under bust measurement, replace the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. My under bust and waist is the same measurement. Here I'll mark the hip circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake I have there, replace and add ½ inch. Now I'm going to place my ruler. I'll connect from the under bust to the bust, from the waist to the under bust. Now after I'm done marking that, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to connect from the waistline all the way to the blouse length at the lower part of my pattern. After connecting this, you want to mark your bust dart. To get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5, right? Now, minus that 15.5 from 17, and what you're going to have is 1.5 inches. So this is how I got my bust dart for my pattern. You can go ahead to measure yours before marking. Now, after marking this, we are now going ahead to alter this pattern to get the desired design. I'm using 4 inches for the shoulder, and here I'm using 2.3 inches. Now, I'll just go ahead to connect. I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline my pattern to make it more visible for you to see. Now, I also outline the chest line area. Now, to make sure that the yoke is not gaping, I'll mark 0.5 inches and I'll slant this in. This is to tighten the yoke at the shoulder point. Let's draw out the neckline. I'll come in by ½ inch at the chest line. That is where I want the corset skirt bridge to start. And from there, I'll blend my pattern and I'll connect this to this point. Now, if you're okay with what you have, you can go ahead to outline to make it visible. But if you're not okay with the neckline you want, go ahead to readjust. Now, I'm going to connect from this skirt bridge I have all the way to the under bust of my pattern this way. So this is what I have here, cup A, and I'm going to repeat this at the other side. But I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 and add ½ inch to it to enable it to accommodate my bust at the side. Also blend in your darts to connect. If your bust is on the bigger side, you can add extra 1 inch to your pattern. Now, I'll place my ruler and I'll connect from the bust and connect this other side. So this is my cup B, right? And I'll outline this pattern to the waist to give it this conical effect. So if you notice, the conical effect is not that much. It's slightly overlapping or even resting on the hip measurement. So I'll just go out by 1.5 inches and I will connect. To draw out the hemline, I'll come up by 2 inches by the side. Now, I'm going to blend out my pattern. You can also come up by 2.5 inches by the side. So I'll blend my darts and I'll go ahead to mark out the asymmetric hemline I have here. So I'm using a freehand sketch to do this so that I can get the design. So I'll just go ahead to blend it out and I'll use my marker to outline the rest of this pattern. So after doing this, I'm almost coming to the end of my pattern. So the next step I want to take is to snatch out the waistline. So I'll be using the darts technique. I'll be inserting my darts to do this. So what I'll do is I want to take out 4 inches from the waistline. I'll go ahead to introduce a style line there, right? With that style line, I'll be able to add my darts to it. Now, when you're drafting your pattern, you normally divide your basic bodies by 4. Since I want to take out 4 inches from my pattern, I'm going to divide what I want to take by 4. So I want to snatch out 4 inches. If I divide 4 by 4, I'll end up having 1 inch. So what I did was to mark ½ inch on both sides of the style line and I'll adjust it or extend it all the way down. So that means if I have 1 inch at the front right side of the pattern and have 1 inch at the front left side of my pattern, that means I've taken out 2 inches from my waistline. Now, if you repeat this for the left and the right side of your back pattern, you have taken out 2 inches also from the back. So 2 inches from the front and 2 inches from the back is going to give you 4 inches. So that way we have snatched out 4 inches from the waistline. So the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to cut out my pattern. So if you have any questions so far, please kindly go ahead to leave your question at the comment section. So while cutting this, when you're going to the side that has the bust dart, please go ahead to blend it out and go ahead to cut out. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comments at the comment section. So I'll also go ahead to cut out this dart I have here, and after cutting it out, this is what I have for the front. Now let's move over to the back pattern. So for the back pattern, I've already gone ahead to mark out the basic measurements we need. Neckline of 3 by 1 inch and my shoulder divided by 2 plus half. I found my chest line, then marked my shoulder to bust at the back, my shoulder to waist at the back, and added extra 7 inches after the waistline. For the back pattern, I'll be using a dartless pattern to make it easier and shorter. Mark your bust circumference divided by 4. Add half inch to it. Here, mark your waist round circumference divided by 4 and then add your sewing allowance to it. After you're done doing that, mark your hip circumference divided by 4. Then I will go ahead to mark half inch for my sewing allowance. After marking this half inch, I'll go ahead to add 1.5 inches that I did for the front to have that conical effect at that point. So after marking, I'm going to place my ruler, connect from the waist to the bust, and from that point I'm going to connect this all the way to the lower part. But before connecting, I'll make reference to the front pattern, place it at the waistline and trace out the conical effect. Make sure it will match what I have at the back. Now this is the easiest way to mark this so that the front and the side pattern will match when you're joining it and you won't really have any issue at that side. Now for the lacing area of this dress, I'll be using 2 inches. This 2 inches is not a standard. You can go ahead to use what is okay for you. But if you notice at the back, the lacing is quite open, although we have a modesty panel at that point. Now just go ahead and connect this way, and after I'm done marking, I'll outline the chest line. The next step now is to go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, come down by 2 inches here, and I'll connect. So I'm using my nipple to nipple as a guide to where my yoke will meet my pattern. I'll make a dot to indicate I have a lacing there. So I marked half inch here and half inch also here. So I'll tighten my yoke with this half inch and then also make sure that the back of this corset does not gape or does not pop up at the lacing area. So we are almost done with this pattern, and what I'll do now is to cut out before going ahead to include my darts to snatch out the waistline of this pattern. I'll go ahead to cut out the rest of these darts out and also cut out the lower part of the back pattern. Now we are now going to insert a dart to snatch out the waistline just the same way we did for that of the front pattern. So what I will do is to go ahead to insert a style line to this pattern, and I'm going to mark half inch on both sides just like we did for that of the front pattern. Then I'll go ahead to extend this all the way up. After extending that, I'll go ahead to take it all the way to the lower part of this pattern. So this is my center back and this is my side back, and I'll now go ahead to cut out this pattern. So if you have any question regarding this tutorial, please go ahead to leave your question at the comment section, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead to hit on the subscribe button. Thanks.